Welcome to the Downtown Forum, the 2015 edition. First of all, this year is a little bit different. We partnered with Graco on it, and the turnout has been fantastic, and it's just been a great collaboration. And I want to invite Bob Hughes up to give a little welcome in a few words.
Welcome. Ooh. Look at that. See? When they hear the august voice, it's like E.F. Hutton. On behalf of Graco, I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. Thank you very much for coming. I'd also like to thank Venture Richmond and the City of Richmond for inviting Graco to participate tonight. Some of you might not know what Graco is. Graco is the Greater Richmond Association for Commercial Real Estate. We are the largest and most diverse organization in Richmond, whose primary focus is to advocate for and support the commercial real estate industry in the Richmond region. With almost 500 members, Graco presents top-notch programs every month. We offer nationally known speakers, economists, developers, brokers, and industry executives exploring the issues facing the commercial real estate industry in our region. We present networking opportunities, bus and trolley tours, and the best golf tournament in the Richmond region. So in the tradition of presenting excellent events, top-notch events, again, thank you very much for coming, and we're proud to be part of tonight's event. Thank you again.
Thank you. And so I want to invite our first speaker up, and that is David Green with GRTC. And he's got some exciting information for us, and then I'm going to explain how we're sort of organizing the part of the presentation. Each of the presenters gets about 2 minutes to cover their projects, so we're going to be moving pretty fast. And David, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Gosh, what an honor to kick off such a great event. I'm David Green with GRTC, and I'm here to update everybody on our BRT project. I know there hasn't been a lot of information put out about it lately, but that's all about to change fairly soon. To remind everybody what we're doing, we are currently in the middle of a PE and design phase of a bus rapid transit project which will run from Willow Lawn to Rockets Landing. The corridor is 7.6 miles in total length and will have 14 stations along it. The 2 in the west and the 4 in the east will be located on the curbside, and buses in those areas will travel in general traffic lanes. The other 8 stations will be located in dedicated lanes, 5 of which will be throughout the VCU and museum areas, and the final 3 being located curbside downtown. This is the latest map of the corridor and reflects the final locations where stations will actually be constructed. Besides finalizing station locations, the project team's been extremely busy since September, working on a lot of the major upfront decisions, not least of which is station design. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time to share information with you tonight, but we are hosting our next round of public meetings later this month on the 26th and 27th, and we hope to see all of you at one of those, if not both. One of the more things that we were able to involve the public in recently was a naming survey, and I'd like to thank all of you who were able to participate in that. The survey included 5 names, which were the result of probably 2 months of meetings by our branding committee about what they thought the system could be called. Those options were shortlisted from probably 80 or 90 ideas that they came up with. For those who took the survey, you know that we also requested write-in suggestions from the public, and we received some really interesting ones, names that the committee never thought of at all. My personal favorite is Love Tractor, but we would like to thank everyone throughout the region for the creativity that they shared with us.
You know, Love Tractor was a band. It's a great band.
I'm sure that's where it came from. So those who are interested in staying informed about the project, we've got all the related documents on our website at ridegrtc.com. From there, you can also register your email address, at which we will push information out to you with emails and periodic e-blasts. You can also contact us at brt@ridegrtc.com if you have any specific project-related questions, or also follow us on Twitter. So thanks a lot. We hope to see you all at our public meetings later this month, and look forward to pushing some information out to you over the coming months.
So we're not going to do this for everyone, but I think that we need to give David Green a round of applause because he's been rocking it on the public transportation front. Thank you, David. That is just really exciting. And was it $52 million that you got from it? $50 million. Okay. Next is Mitzi Lee in the house. Has anybody seen Mitzi? Okay. Well, we'll just zoom past VCU, a major driver, and hope she'll be here. We'll just back up a little bit and move on to Ted Ukrop. So the way we've organized this is that we're going to follow that bus rapid transit route from the VCU area down all the way to Rockets and give you a sense of what projects are already underway within a block or two or three from that route. So Quirk Hotel, Ted Ukrop.
Thank you, Lucy. I kind of wanted to follow Mitzi because Mitzi gives me a lot more comfort, and VCU does, but not only their arts programs, but also they have about 250,000 visitors a year coming to Richmond. So we hope to have a lot of VCU folks at Quirk Hotel. Quirk Hotel has been a dream of mine for about 12 to 15 years. The timing was never right. But we feel like with all the exciting stuff happening on Broad Street, all the restaurants and the galleries and the retail popping up, and of course with the ICA coming, as well as Central National Bank building, those are three major anchors on Broad Street, and we feel like the time is right. The building itself was the J.B. Mosby dry goods store originally, built in 1916. It was designed by Sterrett and Van Vleck. They're from New York, and they were architects who specialized in early 20th century department stores. They did Lord & Taylor, Saks, Fifth Avenue, and Bloomingdale's in New York. And that's an Italian Renaissance structure. It's way too grand of a building to ever be just apartments and commercial space. So we plan to put 70 to 75 rooms in the hotel. There'll be a rooftop terrace sitting on top of 5 terrace suite rooms. In the lobby, which is this really grand vaulted ceiling, we plan to have a restaurant, a bar, a coffee shop, just lots of lounging. We want to design it for the community. We feel like if Richmonders want to hang out here, then people are going to want to stay here. I would be remiss to say that our team is made up of Jordan is the contractor, 3 North is the architect, Poesis Design is doing the interior design, and Christian Kinnery with Bank Street Advisors is our project manager and my lifeline. Lastly, I would just like to conclude by saying, what are we? We're an art boutique hotel. We're independently owned, and we aspire to showcase good food and drink, authenticity. We want to showcase design. We want to showcase Richmond. We want people around our community, not just staying in the hotel. We want to really showcase what's unique about Richmond. And lastly, we want to showcase art. We don't want to lose the fact that we are an art hotel. In fact, my wife's gallery, Quirk, will be moving into the building next door at 207, so they'll be connected by the lobby. Also, a courtyard will be going on the back of that. But we want to showcase art, both creative art as well as performing art. Thank you.
Great, thank you. When are you going to be open this summer?
Yeah, we hope, yes, thank you. We'll be open in August. Like everybody in this room, they want to be open by the bike race. So we have a fast 6 months approaching.
So maybe next year we can have a forum at your place. Thank you. All right, next I want to invite Chris Gunn up from Monument Constructions. I mean, your signs are everywhere.
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. Since I only have about 2 minutes and 6 projects to go over, we'll just breeze right through everything. First thing we got going on right now, we recently finished the renovation of the Exchange Place building at 1313 East Main Street. Many of you know that for a long time that was purely commercial office. Right now it is a mix of apartments and office. We have 65 residential spaces and 25,000 square feet of office and retail in the building. It is a joint venture between us and Howard Kellman and the Edison Companies. You'll see that we have several joint ventures between us and the Edison Companies. That was just completed basically, really the final phase was completed about 2 weeks ago. So fully complete now. We've got one commercial space left to rent.
Great.
Next one's the big one. This one is ongoing. We're renovating the old Signet headquarters at 800 East Main. We're also doing that with Howard Kellman of the Edison Companies. That will be completed this year. It is 196 residential units and about 7,000 square feet of retail that sits in the old 8th and Main branch building. It will have an on-site fitness center, rooftop pool, and it's going to be about $32 million in total development cost. Next is Theater Row at 115 West Broad Street. We finished this about halfway through the year in 2014. It's 21 residential units and some first floor commercial right on Broad. 30 parking spaces behind at a total cost of $2.1 million. The next one is a current project we have underway, should be completed first quarter this year. It is a smaller renovation. It is a joint venture that the Monument Companies is doing with Amy Ayers of Julep's Restaurant. This is where Julep's Restaurant will be relocating. Should open, we should see it first quarter. We'll see how that goes.
So you're keeping the Montaldo's sign?
I'm not sure, to be quite honest. But this will have, this is a mixed-use project, small, 8 residential units plus Juleps. The last 2 projects we'll talk about are projects that we're not involved in the ownership of, but we're doing with Duke Dodson and a few partners he's put together. The first one of these is at 207 North 3rd Street. That is a 6-unit residential building plus commercial at a cost of $1.1 million. That just CO'd a couple weeks ago, just completed. And the other one, which has been CO'd for a while, is 409 East Main Street. This is all commercial. It's where Dodson Property Management has their headquarters, along with the space sharing business Gather. They've been doing really well there. This was a really cool renovation for us to do, a little bit off our beaten path, since normally you see us doing a multifamily residential development. So that's them in a quick nutshell. All total, that is, if you were counting, that's 296 residential units, about 66,000 square feet of commercial, 330 parking spots, and $51.5 million of renovation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Mitzi Liddy is in the house. So let's pop back to VCU and their phenomenal work.
Yeah, so we've had some really exciting work happening on Grace Street, as a lot of you have probably noticed. We've had some really exciting work occurring on Grace Street, and just want to kind of go over some of the highlights of these projects. What you see on this slide is a VCU Real Estate Foundation project. It's an office building, 7 stories. It's about 80,000 square feet. It'll have ground floor retail. That will be opening up probably within the next 6 to 8 weeks. We are preparing now to occupy the rest of the building. That will be office and classroom space. It is being built at the same time that a private market apartment building is going up at the corner of Grace and Schaefer. You can see on the foreground of the slide on the left. The VCU building is $16 million, and the amount we have on the private market apartment building is $22 million. Next slide. Richmond Glass is one of my all-time favorite projects. We were fortunate to be recognized by the Urban Land Institute recently and acknowledged with 2 awards for that project. It's a historic tax credit deal. You know, I say to people, I just walk through that building or through across the front of the building frequently before we acquired it, trying to get an idea of what was actually going on inside the building, and really excited to tell you that we gained about 20,000 square feet in the original building that fronts Broad Street, the historic building. We got another around 10,000 square feet in the 2 back buildings that were warehouses that were then conjoined with an addition. It's all for the School of the Arts and for $8 million. I added some extra pictures to give you an idea of what this building looked like, the rooms inside, and I would encourage you to write this down. Google YouTube VCU The Depot. If you go to that YouTube, it's about a 2.5 minute video. You'll hear Joe Seipel, Dean of the School of the Arts, talking about that project and what it means to VCU. It's a really interesting snippet and look into VCU School of the Arts.
Cool. All right. It's a great building. Great building.
This is a Cabell library renovation and expansion project. We're adding another 93,000 in new square footage there, and then renovating existing 63,000 square feet. You know, the form that libraries take on in today's universities is much, much different than what we experienced. We had rooms to go into to either study or nap. Some of you have napped in those rooms, I take it?
We need to speed it up, Mitzi.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, it's just a major collaboration space, a really, really great addition for VCU. The next slide is the ICA, and many of you have been seeing this come up out of the ground. It's more than $32 million, opening in about 2 years. The next project is our basketball practice facility.
This is going to transform the gateway to Richmond, this Stephen Hall building. And if you haven't been by to see the construction, it's really great.
There are lots of YouTube videos out there too that talk about, you know, what that transformation means for not only VCU, but the city, the region, and the state of Virginia. The basketball practice facility is it's on Marshall Street. This is a $25 million project. It is up from what it originally was in the area of $14 million. By the time we got to where we are now, it became a $25 million project. It is a state-of-the-art facility, and we believe that other institutions will be coming to Richmond to look at our facility, probably staying at the Quirk Hotel when they're here. Okay, 2 other projects that we have right now this one project under construction, it's student housing. It will add about 400 beds of student housing at Grace, Harrison, and Broad. On the front of the project, fronting Broad, we will have 2 small retail bays to add in. That's a $36 million project. The VCU Health System Children's Hospital of Richmond Pavilion. This is at East Broad Street between City Hall and Sanger Hall. It is a $181 million project. It is well underway. And I think that wraps it up for me.
That's
quickly.
Great. Thank you so much. And these are all such significant projects, right? All along the bus rapid transit. Yep. Super. Thank you, Mitzi. That's great. All right, so let's see. Next up, we have this. Okay. So I don't think, is Stacey Burr's in the house? He is in a loan closing for a project, so I'm not sure if he was going to be able to make it. But we did want to mention the Central Fidelity Bank building that's underway. They were not able to be here tonight, but that's another 200 apartments, a $28 million project. It'll probably be finished at the end of this year, early next year, on Broad Street. And then a few blocks off of Broad is the old Lee Street Armory, which is going to be the new museum for the Black History Museum. This is a very historic building where Virginia's black militia troops formed the 6th Virginia Regiment during the Spanish-American War, and it has been in disrepair for many years. It is underway now and will look like this when it is completed. It's a stunning project and is really going to transform that area of Jackson Ward, and we're really excited for that to be underway this year. And there's another rendering of that one. And Ed Solars, who's Your turn. Genesis Properties, another company that is a perennial developer that has a number of projects underway. It always does. Thanks for joining us, Ed.
Thank you, Lucy.
Oh, and can you make sure you speak really close to the mic?
Is that good enough? All right, so first I'd like to tell you about Genesis Properties, just give you a brief overview of who we are if you don't know our company. We've been in business about 30 years, and we've got about 2,200 units developed in the city of Richmond. Along with that, maybe 10% of our portfolio is retail, mainly coming out of zoning ordinance requirements when we build multifamily downtown. So we've got about 24 retail locations as well, for a total of about 1.8 million square feet. Lucy had asked me to quantify how much in real estate taxes we pay per year. I don't know if other developers are doing that. This year we paid about $500,000 in taxes. And if you take the post-abatement value of that, it comes closer to about $2 million, which we'll be paying soon enough. So I'd like to tell you about 3 new deals that we've got going on right now. The first is the Edison Apartments, which is located at 7th and Franklin, not too far from the Signet Bank building that Monument is doing. It's a wonderful location. We're about 2 blocks from the Capitol, about 3 to 4 blocks from City Hall, maybe 5 to 6 from MCV, and it's just been a home run of a deal. We came and looked at this a few years back and found out that this was the original headquarters for Dominion Virginia Power. And so we had a good case for historic tax credits and went through and got with Walter Parks and put together this transaction. It's got a 12-story tower and then a 7-story annex next to that, and then a 330-car garage attached. So these are 3 buildings that were built all at different times, different types of construction. And when you take things in like floor level differences between the two, it was a pretty complex deal from an architectural standpoint. But MGT Construction just got the CO, we're just done, and we're about 75% occupied. We should be completely leased up by April of this year.
That's fantastic.
Some fantastic amenities in there. We've got a great club room. This is an example of the interior of one of the apartments. We've got a state-of-the-art fitness center. We've got a business center, a dedicated yoga room, study rooms for our MCV students, storage for anyone who wants it. And then we have a long-term lease with VCU as well on the first floor. Suffice it to say, it's gone well. We're getting between $1.50 and $3 a square foot in rents, which is pretty impressive for this city. On the other side of the coin, we've got another development underway, Hatcher Tobacco Flats. This is down off Commerce Avenue in Manchester. Now, this shot here is from about a week ago, and you can see we're just finishing up the 4th story here. We've got another that's on the other side of the street. It would be the 5th level, I guess. It's a structured parking underneath the building. This is 151 units, and this is an affordable housing development. So the story on this one was we bought basically a city block, and we relocated our headquarters to the old spaghetti warehouse where this is, subdivided this parcel, and then we got 9% low-income housing tax credits on this. So the beauty of that is out of $18 million in development costs, we were able to offset about $10 million with that equity. And as we've reduced our perm to about $8 million, and the following rents are actually covering that at about a 130 coverage. We've got 1 bedrooms in the $400 range. We've got 2 bedrooms in the $600 range, and 3 bedrooms in the $800 range. So we don't think there's a better value in the city of Richmond when you talk about a complex that's in walking distance to downtown. It's got a clubhouse, fitness center, on-site parking, on-site leasing and management, and just can't beat it for that price. So we know it's going to lease up well. We're going to be done with construction by June. We should be fully stabilized by December.
and then one just outside of downtown. In Churchill.
That's right. So we have Shockoe Valley View Apartments here. This is in Union Hill, just west of Church Hill. And same development team. We've got Walter Parks and MGT Construction. MGT is just wrapping up phase 1 here right now. So this is 151 units. Some of the amenities here are a secure one-to-one parking spot per unit. We've got an on-site fitness, on-site leasing and management. We've got a gorgeous standalone clubhouse. That's a picture here on the left. This is a 2-level clubhouse with an open-air veranda outside, sitting on a pool that literally sits on the edge of Union Hill and faces out west, overlooking the city of Richmond. So at the end of the day, you can sit in the pool, you can watch the sunset over the skyline. It's an absolutely gorgeous view. So that's done well. We're actually 100% leased up there and about 90% occupied. As the contractors get out over the next month, it'll be fully occupied. This here is phase 2. This is in the works, and we're going to get out of the dirt hopefully this summer. This is another 87 units, and what this does to complement phase 1 is this adds 3-bedroom units, and then we also have some amenities. We'll do a cross easement between the two so that phase 1 can use the dog run and the bocce ball court and the grilling area. And we're also going to possibly have some kind of commercial space here as well. So that's it for us. We've got a few other deals in the works that hopefully I'll be able to present to you all next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to mention, Amines are doing this Hampton Inn and Suites and Homewood Suites conversion of the old 700 East Main building. That will be a total of 244 rooms. It will open later this year, and it'll have a restaurant as well as a coffee shop. So that's another example of a Class C or D office building that is being converted into a new use. And Kit Tyler with Colliers was nice enough to do sort of a total for us. And I know you can't read this, but between the Central National Bank building, the 700 Center, which is on East Franklin, the 700 East Main, the Massey building, Edge Exchange Place, the old Signet Bank headquarters at 8th and Main, and the Heritage building. That's about 900,000 square feet of office space that has been converted to either hotel, apartments, or some mixed use. So that's pretty impressive. Thanks, Kit. And Bill Martin of the Valentine, come on up. You all have been busy for the last 2 years.
Just a little bit.
It's exciting.
It's an exciting time at the Valentine. Imagine, how do you take the oldest museum in the city and recreate it in a way that brings it to life for this generation? What we discovered is at the Valentine, we had lots of things to do. One, we need to make sure that people understood our old name. So sometimes taking that old thing and going back, and we're just the Valentine again. We're not Richmond history, we're not any of those things. We are just the Valentine, and we're going to help define Richmond's future. So we've done some things to our building. Go ahead, Lucy, we'll see what we got. We basically took one of the most remarkable blocks in downtown with a house built in 1812, the Wickham House, and a block of historic buildings, and basically went in and decided, how do you create a place for our future? And that's kind of what we did. Go ahead, Lucy. We created a gift shop that's just for Richmond. It's all Richmond objects, all Richmond inspired. Wendy Umanoff did a crazy lighting fixture for us. I bet you there are not many projects on our list tonight that can say that it used all Richmond architects, Richmond contractors, Richmond subs, Richmond designers, Richmond exhibition designers. Everything in this building is Richmond because we made our life here, and we're committed to making sure that everything is done by Richmond contractors. So it's a pretty exciting thing. Let's keep moving to a new exhibit of the history of the city. How do you tell the history of this place? You do it in some different ways. We've got 1.6 million objects. If you can't, guess what? There is no technology. If you can't tell a great story by putting objects together in interesting ways, maybe we shouldn't be in the business, because there's some great things there. Keep going, Lucy. It's about our education programs. We've been free to Richmond Public Schools since 1902. And are still free to Richmond Public Schools. I will say that we are the only institution probably in the country that's been open to both black and white schools since 1902. Pretty amazing place for our city. Keep going. And that's Neil November in the middle there, who was the benefactor for the November's education. Keep going.
I bet you framed that picture and gave it to him.
Actually, we have one just of his head. We've got a couple things opening between now and spring. One next week, actually, made in Churchill. Great exhibition made by students in Churchill with chat in the Churchill Academy. Followed by, we've got to do one thing for the Civil War. Got to tell you about this one, and then I'll sit down. But this is Beard Wars. We've not done anything related to the Civil War at the Valentine, but we're doing one last nod. We're taking great vintage photographs from our collection of Confederate and Union generals, and we're challenging the RVA Beard League to match them. And there will be an exhibition that opens in March, and then the final series of openings for us.
This is the most creative exhibit I think you've done.
Oh, well, there was tattoos.
Oh, well, no, this seems a little bit more creative than the tattoos.
Well, you just don't know what's coming. Downstairs, new costume and textile galleries that will open in May. So again, what we're doing is over the next year, populating this amazing space on Clay Street from costume and textiles. Keep going, Lucy. Grab on. Keep going. To more costumes and textiles, to lots of spaces for public meetings. Keep going. And so what you have is this new place. Every generation of Richmonders have come to that block, sort of put their own imprint on it, and essentially what we've done is created the new place for the next Richmond. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. And while Craig is coming up, I wanted to also just mention one other project that Capitol Square Management's doing on 13 South 13th Street down in Shaco, converting this old warehouse into really modern, creative office space, which is really fun to add more neat space to the slip. All right, Craig, thanks for joining us. And this is a really important project for Shaco as well.
Thank you. So by way of quick introduction, Apple REIT is actually a Richmond-based real estate investment trust that invests in hotels across the country. So it's a rare opportunity for us to actually get to work on a project in our hometown. So we're really excited about that. And because of that, we probably went above and beyond our normal level of finishes and put some extra attention on this project. Go next slide. So this project was actually 6 years in the making, and there are 5 major components. There's a courtyard by Marriott Hotel, designed for business travelers, a residence inn, which is for extended stay guests, typically people staying more than 4 nights, and those rooms include a full kitchen. In the center of the project, there's an outdoor courtyard area that's open and accessible to the public. There's a First Freedom exhibit space, which I'll talk about in a second, which is an exhibit space for the First Freedom Centers where they can display their exhibits for religious freedom. And then on the very corner of the project, we have a monument to religious freedom, commemorating the historic significance of this site, which if we go to the next slide. 1786, Jefferson and Madison signed into law religious freedom, and it reflects itself in the decor and the interior of the building, as well as the facade and the monument on the corner. Do you mind if I push you? So here's what the project looked like last year when we presented, just as we were breaking ground. Rendering of what we were trying to achieve. We're very sensitive to the historic nature of the Shaco Slip neighborhood. Size and scale was important, level of finishes on the facade, very important, and trying to open up the sidewalk and create a much more pedestrian-friendly development. And here's what it looks like today. We opened December 8th. We're open for business. It's about a $36 million investment total. We created 100 plus jobs during the 18 months of construction, and we have about 70 full-time jobs going forward as we continue to operate. There's a shot of the interior of the Courtyard Hotel, a shot of the interior of the Residence Inn Hotel, and one of the residence inn guest rooms with the full kitchen. And that's what it looks like in the First Freedom exhibit space. And those guys, the First Freedom Center is opening for business this Friday, actually, with a grand opening. And we'll be doing tours and promoting religious freedom. There's the monument on the corner. It's a cast bronze, handcrafted, 30-foot tall spire created by Tectonics in Richmond, Virginia, backed by a sandstone sandstone wall with engraved text from the religious statute.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, what I'm going to do is thank you, Craig, and really, it's a great investment. Now, I want to point out the different colored brick down 14th Street, and when you drive down it, it really adds to the rhythm of that block as a building in new construction that's filled in.
Here I am again to talk about Main Street Station. I've worked on this project for over 20-some years, about half of my life. This project started in 1991. I am capable of speaking about other things, but I usually am talking about this. With Vicki Badger as a partner of mine, who's our transportation planner, she applied for the ICE-T T21 bills back in the 90s, and we've achieved $86 million of grant funding. This is transportation money predominantly with a small local match. This project overall, 3 phases: head house, clock tower, first phase, that's completed across the street. Second phase and third phase is the train station, train shed rehabilitation. Overall, $100 million. The train shed is 100,000 square feet. It's going to be converted, just started construction September 22nd, 2014, opens in 2016. And next slide. This is what it looked like. The train shed was built in 1901, housed 6 tracks on the second floor platforms because it's a floodplain, and was converted to a retail mall by Brian White's father and Larry Shiflett. In the 1990s, the state bought it, turned it into offices, and then the city bought it. So this is the before picture, not beautiful because it is vacated. This is what it looked like this November. All the tracks are gone. You can still see a hint of some of the rails in the and this is the 100,000 square foot train shed. Encased now in corrugated metal. We're going to start unwrapping the building, turn it into a glazed box on the second floor, and we're going to put a welcome center. I'll tell you some other things, but we're going to start in March to unwrap the building. Architects, SMBW, Taylor and Parrish, local team is the contractor. Timmons is on the job, Schnabel's on the job, and this is the interior shot of November. Next slide. This is the actual rendering of the first floor Welcome Center. The state of Virginia is going to move the Virginia Welcome Center from Capitol Square to this location. Next slide. We have combined this project with the 17th Street Market, and we think they both synergize kind of off of themselves. So we're going to have an indoor market inside the train shed. We're working on a new market tax credit project, $14 million, $12 million. That's happening kind of behind the scenes now. Same project that the mayor announced years ago, indoor market, unique to Richmond. We're going to do a market analysis of what those vendors' mix should be. Why can't we do this? Every other city can do this. We can do this. Next slide. So that means we transform the farmer's market, which we've been talking about probably 15 years. We're removing the sheds this spring. This is about a $7 to $8 million project. We need additional money to underground the transformers and the overhead power lines, but it's going to be programmed to be active all day and into the evening. We're going to change the programming. We're going to make it more like, next slide, Los Robles, Charlottesville Downtown Mall. This is a winter shot. We're going to have a focal point in the middle where Walnut Alley is, near Rosie Connolly's. And the next slide is a spring or summer scene. Mainly trees, space that's very easily changeable and flexible. BAM Architects, now Vaskerville is the architect. Timmons is also working on this project as well as Main Street Station, just to give some credit to some great partners.
Thanks, Jeannie. Great. Hey, Lee, thanks for joining us. And while this isn't out of the ground yet, this is such a huge project. I know everybody wants to hear about Stone Brewery.
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I'll get closer. As you know, in October, Stone Brewery announced its decision to locate its East Coast distribution facility and its bistro in the city of Richmond. You know, what started out with probably over 300,000 competitive sites and proposals everywhere east of the Mississippi. Final selection, we got down into 40, we got down to 10, and ultimately we did win the project. It's a great example of multiple partners working together. Of course, obviously Stone is the main player building, coming in and bringing their production facility here, but working with the EDA, the RHA, the city, the administration, council, everybody pulling together to pull off what is basically one of the big announcements in the craft brewery industry. They're going to be bringing $74 million worth of investment in to a approximately 200,000 square foot brewery, along with a separate bistro and retail store that will be built on the riverfront in the old intermediate terminal building. That having been said, above and beyond just what this project means as far as new tax revenue to the city, which is, over $1 million of new tax revenue, it is a major catalyst for a part of the city that needed a catalytic project to build its to build upon a redevelopment. And they've already reached out to the community. They're extremely supportive of the riverfront plan. In fact, the riverfront plan is one of the things that made this area the most attractive to them. So we see going forward, not only do we get the brewery and the bistro, but we get riverfront partners and we get community partners that want to make sure the community is highly involved in this project.
We heard the Capitol Trail sealed the deal.
Let me tell you, everything about the river and everything on the river is what brought them to this. They love the community, they love the city, but they love the river.
That's great. Well, we can't wait to hear more next year. Thank you. Okay, Ryan White, another perennial developer who has done many, many projects in downtown. Thanks for joining us, and this is an exciting new construction project.
Yes, it is largely new construction on the, it is between 18th and 19th fronting Cary Street. It is, like so many other projects being discussed here tonight, multifamily housing. But if you can go to the next slide, we have found there is a ton of multifamily housing being developed in Richmond, as I'm sure everybody can tell coming to these each year. But there's been a real growth market from our perspective in the more upscale housing, and in the housing that where maybe 10 years ago someone would get to be 26, 27, 28 years old and say, all right, it's time for me to buy a house. We're seeing people are less eager to jump into that type of commitment these days, and they may want a nicer apartment somewhere where they can feel more like home and stay for a longer period of time, but not as transient of a tenant. And that's where we're seeing a growth in the market, and that's where we've decided to place some emphasis. So this is 130 units on top of structured parking of, I think, just under 300 spaces. So that structured parking serves this building and some other properties that we have across the street. And you'll see the patio there where the fire pit and the swimming pool and the clubhouse is. That's underneath that is where all the structured parking is. So that is raised up a couple of stories. And then it wraps around in a U shape with 2 levels of, and you can, flip as you see fit. 2 levels of mostly 2-story townhouses. A 2-story townhouse down low that opens out onto the patio, and then a 2-story townhouse up above it that opens out onto its own private deck. We were able to do that in a way so we can have 4 stories, essentially, of apartments and only 2 stories of corridors. So makes more net rentable square feet, makes it a more profitable project. We have, in order to get the higher rents to pay for a nicer building, we have to do a lot of things that really make it an exciting place to live. Big, huge windows in the apartments, nice game room, pool table, nice gym, all sorts of, special amenities. You just set your garbage out front of your apartment door, and we come by and pick it up for you each night, things like that. Anything else? Oh, and Lucy just asked for me to kind of give a snapshot of our company and what we've done in the Richmond market. We've got about 2,300, maybe a little bit more apartment units. About 2,000 of those are in Richmond. And we've also completed 130 units in Scott's Addition within the last month, but that That's not downtowns. We didn't include it here. And we have a couple other projects that we can talk about next year that should be nearing completion this time. Thank you.
Great. Well, no, thank you. And I mean, I thought that it would be interesting to see some of the cumulative numbers from the perennial developers because there's been such volume over the last 15 years in downtown. When it all adds up, it's significant. Thank you for
Thanks.
doing that. Got some news for us on this project, don't you?
This, excuse me, this project's been reincarnated as multifamily. We purchased this building in 2012 from Forest City, and there was a deed restriction that prohibited it from being developed as multifamily, and we attempted to develop it as office, and I'm here to tell you we were unsuccessful in doing that, so we're back presenting it as multifamily. 71 one bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments, and about 6,000 square feet of commercial space. And it's gorgeous buildings. They've been continually occupied. It was originally for Lorillard American Tobacco, Lorillard Tobacco, and then M&B Hat. And it was actually being used when we first looked at it back in 2010. The plan is to combine the two buildings with a common amenities building and to landscape, hardscape, the beautiful courtyard between the two buildings, and to have a swimming pool, fitness center, amenity building that has meeting space and a business center. And I can't show you the picture of that right now because we're still in negotiations with DHR and National Park Service over what exactly that'll look like and what you will be able to see from the public right-of-way. So we're crossing our fingers that hopefully our negotiations will be successful. But we're under construction on the parts that have been approved, and we're probably about 20% complete. We expect to open in fall of 2015. It includes, and it's situated in the 2300 block of East Main, right across the street from the Market Shopping Center. We also, at the same time, purchased the block next to Millie's, which is the 2500 block of East Main. We will build 82 new parking spaces. We could fit about 130, but we're only at this point adding 82. Ultimately, we intend to develop that site in potentially multifamily or hotel in the future. And those spaces will be available for both the commercial tenant and the multifamily tenants in this project. It's $12 million investment. Architect is Walter Parks, contractors MGT Construction. Timmons is the engineer, and the lender is Union First Market Bank.
Great,
Thank you very much.
We can't wait to see those apartments. That's going to be wonderful. That's one of the last warehouses left downtown, or in the bottom anyway. All right, next up we have Beth Iceberg, Virginia Capitol Trail.
Thank you, Lucy. I'm going to be quick, and I hope my remaining colleagues are going to be quick as well, because as you all know, the Wahoos are tipping off at 7 o'clock against Clemson. Just thought I'd let you guys know that. So, the Virginia Capitol Trail. Let's go to the map. Top right is Richmond, lower left is Williamsburg. If you start at the Jamestown Settlement and work your way west, you can go 29 miles on your bike or in your running shoes or a skateboard. We just opened a 13-mile stretch in September connecting all those other ones. So as you work your way west, those phases with the arrows are under construction now and due to be complete again by the UCI race. That's not a coincidence. Next one. This is the Richmond portion. It's a total of 1.6 miles in 3 phases. Phase 1 opened in 2009. That goes from Dock and 17th Street down to Shiplock Park. Phase 2 is about 1,100 feet, and it's going across the USP property along Dock Street till you get to the Lehigh Silos. Phase 3 starts at the silos and heads west over Gillies Creek to the Rockets Landing property. It'll follow the rail lines as it goes into Rockets Landing. This is a shot of phase 1. You have the canal on the left, Dock Street on the right, and the train trestle up above. This is just a shot that's shows you what the Dock Street temporary alignment is going to be. Once the USP property is developed, the trail will relocate to the riverfront, which is in the riverfront plan. But until that time, it's going to be a cycle track with a physical barrier from cars. Will separate pedestrians and bikes for just over 1,100 feet. And this is over by the Lehigh Silos. Those are due to come down in the spring. It'll be another separated multi-use trail at that point with the river on the right as you head east, and then the bridge over Gillies Creek and the rail lines into Rockets Landing. All of these phases are set to be done in July. And I think that's it.
Great. Thank you. If you haven't liked it, you really ought to. It's fantastic. And is Richard Suter here? Oh, hey.
Hi. As much as I'd be as much as I,
Can you raise the mic and
yeah, sure. Cool.
you're a little taller than that.
Whilst I'd really like to be standing here saying we've started an apartment building at Rockets, which we planned for a number of years, I hope to stand here next year and say we're starting the apartment building. We have every intention of doing at least an apartment building in Henrico and in the city of Richmond, starting hopefully in the city of Richmond. So I mean, if you kind of look at Rockets, there's a couple of things happened this year. We really kind of regrouped as a project. We auctioned off all the condominiums that we had left. We're down to one last condominium that we need to clear, and so we're watching prices recover from that. That's kind of the for sale side of the world, that not many people still have that kind of product. But in addition, we embarked on a townhome building exercise. We built 4 riverfront townhomes over the course of 2014 that we ended up selling between 1.1 and 1.9 million. So I mean, those are 4 fairly substantial homes for the Richmond market. In addition, we've got H.H. Hunt building and kind of helping to fill in the intermediate area in the project. And they're selling townhomes in the kind of around the $350,000 average mark. So I mean, we've really kind of built out phase 1 and positioned ourselves to really push the project east and west. Now, with a lot of help coming from kind of 3 factors of which you've already heard about. The Virginia Capitol Trail is going to get finished this year, at least through Rockets Landing, and that's going to be, we think, just a huge amenity to continue to bring people down to the river and interact with the project. Having Stone Brewery as a neighbor is just going to add an additional amenity to that neighborhood that at least we're not the bookend of the world anymore. And in addition, the bus rapid transit really does extend in the long run between Willow Lawn. I say the long run, I think it's the medium term, between Willow Lawn and Rockets. So I think there's a lot of stuff that is positioning Rockets Landing for a great 2015. We'll continue our townhomes, and we're really looking to start an apartment project this year.
Well, we're going to all send you good karma so that next year you're up here telling us about that apartment project.
I mean, city economic development can help get CSX out of the way. It'll be awesome.
Thanks, Richard. And Marshall Jones from Herschel Fleischer Law Firm is pinch heading for Clayco Development, who has one stellar project underway.
Yeah, obviously I am not a developer, but we at Herschel Fleischer worked with Clayco in the acquisition of the property and some government relations matters with the project. As you can see, here's a rendering of the project and some highlights of the project. You'll see that in addition to, obviously everybody's seen the building coming out of the ground. It's quite a striking building. 18 stories of office with ground level retail. There's also the parking garage attached. The parking garage is an aspect of the public-private partnership with the city, so that you see those 600 parking spaces. Actually, part of that parking garage is public and part of it's private. And you'll see that the building is slated to be LEED certified, which is a good aspect of that building. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Here's some more renderings of the building. One kind of neat aspect, you'll see on the top left right there, that sort of, I guess it's like a sculpture. It's supposed to be a rendering of like a ship. This project is actually located, I think folks may know, on what was the historic turning basin for the canal. And so the developer, Clayco, has tried to implement a lot of different themes of the river and the canal system into the project. If you go to the next slide. So for instance, you'll see that's sort of the skin. I think everybody's seen the skin of the parking garage. I like it. I've heard there's been some mixed reviews of it, but I think it looks great. And that's also supposed to sort of implement sort of the theme of the river. You can go to the next slide. Here's a rendering of the lobby. There's a mosaic that will be going in the first floor lobby. I think that's being done in Germany, is my understanding. And it's, you know, a mosaic of the river. And then there's the actual structure. That's the sculpture right there that's shown in the rendering. Let's see here. And then here's some more renderings. One interesting striking aspect of the building is the glass. I think there's about 135,000 square feet of glass encasing this building, which I didn't do the math. That's why I went to law school. But I think it's about 3 football fields worth of glass. So it's going to really, it's a striking building. It's going to really provide for great views of the users. And speaking of users, if you can go to the next slide, here's sort of a stacking diagram of the building with a fairly current picture. That was probably a few months ago at this point. Most of the building, the office, I think as you know, McGuire Woods is moving from the James Center. They will be moving in to the Gateway Plaza. I think it's scheduled to be completed in the middle of this year. There's also the top floor has been leased to CCA Holdings, and then I think there is some space, some retail and maybe restaurant space pending on the first floor. Next slide. And here are a couple more recent pictures, and it's just, I think it's a great example of a public-private partnership, and it's a great addition to the downtown office district. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that. That's great. It is a significant project. All right, Mark Olinger from the city, come tell us about some exciting things happening, particularly along the river.
Well, good evening, everybody. Mark Olinger, Department of Planning and Development Review Director, and I wanted to touch base on just a few items tonight that really talk, I think, about how the city can help private investment work by doing really 2 things. Number one, really helping promote linkages among the various projects you see here tonight. In some manner or other, we've been involved in a lot of these, and it was a pleasure to work with Clayco on Gateway Plaza, and I really think when it's all said and done, it'll be an outstanding building and a great addition to the city. So how do we make linkages? And one of those linkages is how do we get to the river? So when I came in 2011, the city had just adopted in 2 years the downtown plan. The mayor said, we want to engage the water. Well, how do you engage the water with highways and flood walls and interstates and railroad tracks? So the first project out of the gate we've talked about is the T. Tyler Potterfield Memorial Bridge, named after one of my fellow staff members who unfortunately passed away last year, to make that direct connection for a pedestrian and bicycle use from the north bank of the river to the south bank of the river. So what you see in this drawing here is really the quarter mile of bridge plus the south bank improvements, which makes access to the riverfront fully accessible. No longer are those who have mobility challenges prevented from getting to the water. This is handicapped accessible. This is universal accessibility for everybody. Next slide. It gets you 17 feet above the water in a way that you can't experience the river quite anywhere else, I think including the Lee Bridge. You are going to be right above the water, hearing the water, feeling the water, and doing it in a way where we've done design so it feels like you're in the river, not just viewing the river. Next. We're also going to improve the South Bank so that, again, as I talked about the universal accessibility, it makes it easier for people to navigate. So when you come across the bridge, you'll be able to navigate up to the bridge that takes you over to SunTrust now. Next. Nope. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. This is perfect. There are only 3 slides. I can talk for 2 hours about the riverfront, so for only trying to get 3 slides in, it's difficult. One of the things, though, that I wanted to mention is this is not just a recreational use. With all of the units we've talked about tonight in past years about Manchester, how do you make an easy link to downtown in Manchester and really make Manchester feel more like a part of downtown? This bridge does it, and what this shows is time to get across the bridge and up to the walk. So when people think about living in projects that Robin is doing or Genesis is doing or others have done, this is a viable alternative to getting to parts of downtown. It's not just a recreational use. Next. Linkages and connections along the canal have always been an issue, again, because we've got infrastructure in the way. So how do we make that work? So as development has occurred on the Reynolds North site, the city has come back behind that and made some additional improvements. This is a picture from earlier this year where we dropped in the canal bridge that will more directly link the north bank of the canal to the south bank of the canal, so that as people come in and want to use the parking at Troutman Sanders and use Casa del Barco and other things, it's more legible to folks. Instead of trying to figure out and hunt and peck, here's a direct link from one side of the canal to the other, from parking to uses. There are a lot of other things are happening in this area. So there's another 1.4 million plus or minus that we will have in hopefully in this year's budget to do more canal walk work. There's $100,000 in budget this year to look at how we might extend 13th Street under the downtown expressway to the historic 13th Street Bridge. So when somebody says we're going at 13th South 13th, how do I get to the canal? You come under the highway and down to the canal walk. So there's a lot happening in the vicinity of the canal walk with the Martin Agency, improvements to Virginia, better connections from the hotel down to canal, all of these things creating linkages. Next. Street level activity in the downtown. How do we undo some of the damage that's been done to buildings in the past? And this came up earlier. This is North 3rd, 207 North 3rd. We have a facade improvement program, matching grant program. $200,000 available immediately. I've got another $350 that we're trying to free up. About 150 of that has been obligated. This is the first one done. That was the before picture. This is the after picture. We have a lot of unfinished facades in downtown that need work in the arts and cultural district to really make the area, to support Quirk, support other things, to help enliven the street, because I think cities don't work if the streets don't work. Next.
And we need to give a shout out to Altria for investing in the facade program
Right.
that helps us expand it and be able to offer more money for more facades.
Right.
Thank you, Altria.
Lastly, a small thing. When I first came here, one of the things the mayor said is, I've been to a lot of cities, I'd like to see people eat outside on sidewalk cafes. We had a terrible process, if I may say, very long, very expensive to get an outdoor space done. We said it's $1,000 and about a year. We said we think we can do better, so we created the Sidewalk Cafe program. I won't bore you with the details, but the idea is it's $150 and about 15 days. So if you've got the space out in front in the downtown, actually Sidewalk Cafes are citywide. It's not just downtown, but this is Bistro 27. We're trying to, again, improve the quality of the street level experience. So as the units fill up, as the offices get filled up and people want to do something and enjoy the city, there are places to do it. One last thing, and then I think I'm done. Later in February, in the downtown plan, we've talked for a number of years about converting Grace to 2 ways, to finally make, I think, one of those links from west of Belvedere to the Capitol Square. I've often said the view of the Capitol should not always be in your rear view mirror. And So in the end of February, we're going to begin the conversion of the first 5 blocks, or the last 5 blocks, depending upon how you look at it, between 4th and 9th, so that by the time the race occurs, not that it's race dependent, but by this summer, 5 blocks of Grace Street will be 2 ways from 4th to 9th, and we're making some budget requests to finish that to get to Belvedere. So at some point in the not too distant future, Grace will be a 2-way street all the way through the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great news. All right, Rick Gregory. You all have a couple of interesting projects going on.
Yeah, we do. Guess let me just begin with a disclaimer. My partners have asked me to advise you that they're not responsible for my comments. So, especially Tom Papa's asked me to do that, right? And also, I'd like to give a special shout out to all the bankers in the audience. Welcome back. Don't stay away as long the next time. What we're looking at here is what Mark was talking about was the Reynolds North project and the installation of the new bridge, which we're ecstatic that it's there, as well as Casa del Barco. The project that we're working on now and should be completed in April is we call Gates 5. It is, I have to look at the numbers, 52 market rate apartments. These apartments, there's a big theme you probably have heard is that upscale is in. I don't think we have even gone through the wave caps of upscale apartments in downtown Richmond. So I don't see any fear for you bankers again for those types of buildings. It says 28,530 square feet of commercial. Any realtor out there, send us a restaurant. Estimated project cost $12 million, and as I said, it should be open in 2015. I'm glad we came behind Mark. We're very happy to have contributed 13th Street to the city. This project, you guys are probably tired of seeing this one. First announced this project in 2010. We've been working with the city, and they've been very generous with their time to help us unravel the Gordian knot that this property is tied up in. It is South Canal Lofts. It is built right on Millers Creek at the corner of Millers Creek and Hull Street, right by the flood wall. It is one of those important gateway. It is the most important gateway in my mind to Manchester. It is also one of those links, very, very important links that we've heard everyone talk about with the river, and we are very excited to get that going hopefully this month. Miller Lofts, that's 197 affordable housing units. We've got, that's 2 city blocks, including pools. It's also got the biggest dog park in the city, which is big and needed. We've got 2 buildings. One has been completed for several months, and it's 80% leased up. The second building should be finished middle of March. Okay. This building is a companion to to Miller. It's 601 Stockton. It's 12 market rate units, and that should probably be finished middle of next month. Let's see, next. I got one more that I didn't add. In the Jeff Davis Hall Street area, which I think is the next project area for us. We've had a lot of inventory in Manchester. We're done. So it's time to move on. We've been quietly acquiring. We've got 68 acres and about 1.3 million square feet, most of it historic in the Jeff Davis area. Things are proceeding rapidly. We've been talking to the Republic of North Korea, and they want to put a movie studio there. So.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Another one of our perennial developers. Year after year, another project. Let's see, Robin Miller. Oh, wait, did I do that? Yeah, Robin Miller's up next. Another perennial developer who's done many, many projects in Richmond.
Thank you, Lucy. Lucy asked us to give a little bit of summary of what we've done here in Richmond since the company was formed in 1998. We've done 28 multifamily projects in Richmond, over 40 single-family homes or duplexes, primarily in the Manchester area, over 1,000 residential units, and invested in downtown over $140 million. So we've been here a while and look forward to being here a long time as we finish up in Manchester and other places.
Well, thank you for what you and all these other developers have done to transform our downtown.
Got 4 projects we want to talk about today. The first is 908 Perry Street. It's a companion to the kind of a twin building, sister building across the street, 908 Perry Street. We're very creative in how we name our projects. This was new construction. We ran out of historic buildings to renovate, so for the last few years we've been doing new construction, multifamily. The market has been, as you all know, extremely hot. It continues to be hot for you bankers out there. We are renting up ahead of schedule and getting the rents, so we think that will continue. This is 41 apartments, outdoor patio, gas fire pit, gas grills, on-site leasing office, fitness center, 41 parking spaces, about 34,000 square feet. We completed it in the end of June, and we are almost leased up. We've got, I think, 4 left. Total investment, $5.2 million. The next project, a larger project, this was in partnership with Mark Purcell Construction. 1200 Sims is the name of the project. New construction again, 127 residential apartments and 2 commercial spaces. We did sign a lease last week with Subway to go in one end of our building, and the other end we haven't quite signed the lease, but you will all recognize a very prominent local urban coffee house / grocery that we hope will be going in on this corner.
But not a farmhouse.
Not a farmhouse, exactly. 129 parking spaces. What we really like about this building is the rooftop. It's we use the entire roof, rooftop deck, enormous rooftop deck. We were hoping to have a clubhouse up there, but our zoning restricted us, so we have a exceedingly large elevator lobby on the roof with a bathroom and with the covered deck space you see there. So we've got the dog walk. That's been a real selling point. First dog walk on a rooftop dog walk anyway. I think some other folks are doing it now. It's a great idea. Grilling stations, elevator access to the roof. Fitness center, about 126,000 square feet. We completed it at the end of last summer, and as of today when I was over there, we have 10 vacant. So we're very pleased with the lease up. Total investment about $14 million.
That's fantastic.
The duplexes, I want to just kind of throw this in. My partner Dan Gecker and I, our Urban Development Associates, have a lot of property in Manchester, a lot of single-family lots, and we decided we would experiment this last year with some duplexes. So we built 3 duplexes at the same time. We thought, well, we hope we can sell them. If we can't sell them, we'll just lease them. The first one, well, I told my staff, sell it or lease it, whatever happens first. Well, the first one we finished, leased up in about 2 weeks before we could really put it on the market to sell it. The second 2 we have sold. One closed last month, and the other one is closing tomorrow morning. In the $350,000 to $360,000 range for a duplex. Down the lower level, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. The upper is a story and a half, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. So there is a for sale market's coming back. We're getting ready to do some more for sale single family product in Manchester. And finally, our largest project to date, again, this is with Mark Purcell. Purcell Construction is the majority owner and the general contractor. We're calling this the Terraces at Manchester. Most of you have seen it if you've looked south from downtown. A new construction, 148 residential units, 167 parking spaces, 2 levels of parking with 8 stories of residential above that. We have a clubhouse and fitness center with spectacular views on the 3rd floor. And then we have a top floor sky lounge in the middle, smaller clubhouse, a large plaza with pool, gas grills, fireplace, the works, approximately 209,000 square feet, expected completion this summer, and about a $28 million investment. One of the things that's different about this project is we have and the reason we call it the terraces, we have very large outdoor spaces. One of the things we found is that the upscale tenant, the higher end tenant wants outdoor space. We were doing the balconies, typical balconies, 6 by 8, 48 square feet. Here, most of the balconies are 150 to 200 square feet. We have some that are two that are as much as I think 800 square feet. So large outdoor rooms, outdoor spaces where the upscale tenants can get outside and enjoy it and still have privacy. The rents are high. I mean, as someone said earlier, the demand we think that's not being met is a really upscale, more expensive, larger unit, so that's what we're going to have here. So we're really excited about it, and we'll be topping out at the end of this month and start showing it probably in the end of February. Thank you.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. For doing such a bold project in Manchester, it's really fabulous. Jeff Cook, you've got another exciting project.
I have terrific news for everyone. Only 2 people ahead of me. The restroom is very close. This is Reynolds South. Reynolds South was the companion property to Reynolds North that Rick Gregory's team developed. When Reynolds Packaging shut these factories down, they were much sought after. This property was extremely sought after. This is 17 acres of land in downtown Richmond. You don't get an opportunity to have 17 acres in a mature city very often. So in the December of 2013, Tallheimer Realty Partners closed on the property. Tallheimer Realty Partners is the construction and development subsidiary of Cushman & Wakefield Tallheimer. It was a very long, protracted negotiation. I think it started around 1995, but we finally closed it in 2013. The property consists of a group of mill buildings. There are 3 buildings that are connected now, but will have alleyways between them, that are historic qualified buildings. They are, Lucy, would you go to the next slide? You can see here the site plan. The Phase 1 property is 248 historic rehab apartments. They're under construction now. They'll be completed in the fall of 15. Included with that, up on 7th Street in the blue, is a 20,000-foot section that can be either office or retail or a combination of both. Those are for lease now, and we're walking tenants through that area right now. And then to the on the Hall Street frontage is about 5 acres of land, which is suitable for retail property. And we're talking to retailers there now. To the other side of the property is a 7-acre pad that used to be a factory, and that is zoned and slated for high-rise construction. That can accommodate high-rise residential and office building. This is a rendering that shows the Hall Street frontage. We have room for a grocery store and a drugstore and other retail. We are actively talking to folks right now. This is down in a part of the world that could actually use a grocery store and a drugstore, so we're hoping to announce some nice things there soon. This is a rendering looking from downtown across the river. This is one of the most prominent sites where you can actually build this type of construction, so we're very excited about that. Kit, would you please bring me a 200,000 square foot office tenant? I figured you had it right there with you, and we'll get it underway. So,
Barry Hallheimer has one too.
Say again?
I think Barry Hallheimer probably has one for you too.
Barry will take care of that as well. Thank you very much.
Sam McDonald couldn't be with us, but another great project in Manchester's Port RVA. Again, new construction, 102 apartments. There are the stats under construction now. Will be completed later this year. And Altria Theater, this Lisa Williams with SMG. Thank you so much for letting us have this in this beautiful new ballroom. And I think Lisa's going to give us a little overview of the Altria Theater, and then in case I forget, there will be tours later if folks want them.
We'll have tours right after this, as soon as I'm done, and I will be 2 minutes, so don't worry. Our slides are really in no order. They're just basic shots of different renovations. So we're hoping you can see that in person after this brief introduction. The design, first, thank you and welcome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to share this beautiful venue, which is the people's venue, with everybody, and we're so excited about the renovation that took place. Design work for this project began in 2011, and it was divided into 4 phases, and that was to minimize the impact on the programming that we had at the theater. So you've seen the theater close and open in various different phases, where we addressed the majority of 1/3 of all the funding went to infrastructure. So a lot of the initial phases were projects that you wouldn't see. We were so excited this year to be able to open up and be able to show new seating and a beautiful new marquee and restrooms for everyone on every floor and lots more point of sales. So that's really, the patron amenities have really kind of shown up in this last phase. The $63 million project was really touched every square foot of this approximately 180,000 square foot building. So we've touched every single area. Moving forward, we really do forecast 150 events here every year. One of the biggest things we're able to actually offer is this beautiful ballroom, which we now have a full kitchen, and we are able to host events for up to 750 people. We also have several lounges where we can do a lot of more intimate type meetings and events. The driving force and the funding was one of the things we were asked to speak on. The driving force was historic tax credits. So out of the $63 million, about 49% came from tax credits, and the balance was through our partnership with the city. Altria Theater stepped up and is a wonderful partner with us. They work with us every day and are really involved in this facility and in the city, so we're proud to be a partner with them. And the additional private funds were raised through Center Stage Foundation, which is a fundraising arm for the city. Just looking again, these are some of the lounges. Again, if you go to the back of the building, we'll have ushers there that can give you tours that will showcase all of the areas. Thank you so much and enjoy the night.
Lisa. So that wraps up our 2015 Downtown Development Forum.